Welcome back, everybody. Mobile Service Monday with my co-host, Jeremy Stevens, and a special guest sitting next to him, Mr. Ed Roberts. He is there to supervise Jeremy Stevens. And also joining us with a brand new mic, Amit from Kirby. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show today.
Hey, thanks. I mean, you brought Ed, so I had to buy a mic. I had to make it look real official.
Ed is my fact checker. He says you can't say crazy stuff on the show anymore, so he's here to make sure I keep it in between the lines.
Oh, that's great. That's what we need, a fact checker. Look here, we'll make fact checking impossible because we're gonna ask Amit to talk about the future of mobile service, and since it hasn't happened, you can't fact check that. So.
But I also keep Jeremy's foot on the gas too. He tries to lift every now and then. I keep him pushing it down.
Yeah. I tell people there's a baseball bat right behind me for a reason.
I've seen that baseball bat. I've actually had it pretty close to me last time I was there. So yeah, I get you.
Excellent. So let's get into this and let's do some visionary stuff here and try to figure out what the future of mobile service actually looks like. How are you guys at Kirby looking at mobile service as the future?
Well, let's go back because let's find out a little bit more about Amit. Now, tell us your story. Let's start with that story. I'm in Dave's like, man, you interrupted me, messing me up. But
that's fine. We'll go in the Wayback Machine first, and then we'll go to the future.
Yeah, let's go back. Let's I like origin stories.
What's the line that they say about buying stocks? Past performance is no indication of future. Right. I think the future is always sort of dictated by the past. But yeah, Jeremy, sure. I'll give you a quick nugget on my background. I have an awesome opportunity to represent Kirby as the CEO. And my background has basically been in the automotive industry for about 22 years. Started off as a factory rep, if you will, at Toyota. I mean, I think I got lucky to be in that program because they build really good generalists, right? We're out in the field, service and parts, sales, talking financial statements, signing off airbags, all the way to running brands within the company. So I got lucky to travel the country and be posted in different areas of the country, learning a lot from a lot of car dealers. And I think that's one of the coolest things about OEM reps. We're 1,000 years convincing millionaires to do things. And when you do that, you have to be able to learn the business really well. So that was a great foundation for me. I had a cup of coffee with FCA or Stellantis after Toyota. I was there for 13 or 14 years, made a stop by in Stellantis, and then made a pivot because the family just wanted to stay in Southern California and went to go work for Edmunds. And really, I think I got a really cool break when I got the opportunity to join a 6-person team at Roadster, which was a first digital retailing platform. And you'll see some similarities with Kirby and Roadster because we're very small, very organic. And I think the most important thing is we're authentic. And what that means in this space is doing what you say you're going to do. That gets you a long way in the automotive industry. I got a call a couple years ago, and they asked if I would want to take the keys to Kirby and try to help position Kirby as it pivoted from the direct-to-consumer company that we were. So we had our own tools, our own trucks, and our own technicians. And we were pivoting away from that to basically address the needs of what we saw coming down the pike. And to be brutally fair, not to make this overcomplicated, the phone calls we started to get from car dealers, essentially seeing all the things we're seeing now a couple of years ago. I will say the one simple decision-making process that I went through was being able to do something in the fixed op space. It was mission critical to me to be able to do something on the side of the business where I believe the attention wasn't there, and it actually is the engine that drives the car. And so to be able to come into fixed ops with a brand, with something that was a little bit more novel, that you guys know quite a bit about, which is just this convenience factor of mobile service. So that's the story. I get to work with an amazing team over here. I get to work with a bunch of cool dealers. And as we're going to talk about in a few minutes, now we're starting to work with a lot of manufacturers on this also.
That's cool. I never knew that you were a Toyota rep. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was cool because you got to work for a brand that I think a lot of the brands are this way. I say this all the time. The product quality gap from brand A to brand Z, if you will, is really this now, right? But being able to work for a brand that allowed you to make that investment in your personal growth and the education of how a car dealership runs in unison with the car company, that was the second or third MBA that I think I got at that time.
That's cool.
Nice.
All right, Dave. Now that we're all messed up and sideways, now you can ask your question.
Now can we talk about the future, please?
But it's not even here yet.
I know, but the past goes too far back for me. I can't remember all that. So
I'll give you this nugget, Dave, Jeremy, and Ed. The future is always a version of the past, right? For the most part, when Kirby does a demonstration of our platform, regardless of what a dealer said, every dealer said, you can skip the slides, show us how it works. We always sneak in 6 or 7 slides to set the table. But the first slide that we have with our history is a slide that shows a picture of Chrysler and Cadillac doing mobile service in the 1920s with Harley Davidson sidecars and tools. Because a lot of mobile service was offered back then when the footprint of car dealerships wasn't anywhere near what it is today. And so this thing that we're talking about that's brand new that you guys have been doing for 10, 12 years really is pretty rooted in just the fundamentals of customer service and retention and things of that nature. But I'll put a comma there, and I'll just give you maybe 2 or 3 lines of what the future we believe it is. And obviously we have a biases in this, but it's not a biases, it's a subject matter expertise. This is what we do. We're a mile deep in this industry right now. And I think what we're seeing is, it's actually funny because as I'm about to say it, I'm thinking about 45 minutes ago because I was almost late because I went to go drop my car off at the dealership. And when I went there, the loaner car wasn't ready. And so I came back today because I knew I needed to be on this podcast. And so if you just think about
mobile service,
this dealership, and I'm not going to out the brand, this dealership does not have it. And believe me, every time I go in there, I leave a business card. Just call me.
I know a guy that services those too, though.
You didn't even hear the brand, but I love the fact you just said that. So if you think about the future is not whether or not it's me in my position, a single mom at home who's on a Zoom that's got 2 kids in the background that needs to take care of this, people who don't have the ability to leave their homes, or at the end of the day, the folks that just don't want to do any of this stuff, they're going to demand that their partner in the automotive industry provides this level of service pretty soon. And we know it's already taken place. And then more manufacturers and more dealers are going to have to fall into suit because every single data point is showing us that. Whether or not it's the 2-year-old vehicle that no longer prefers a dealership, whether or not it's the retention numbers, whether or not the variable ops roller coaster. At the end of the day, the demand of the customer is going to be that you need to come to me because we keep comparing ourselves to this industry. And what we need to compare ourselves to is DoorDash and Chipotle and the dog groomer and the guy that just cut the hair of my neighbor out of a mobile van 2 weeks ago.
there you go.
Now that's the first. I didn't know they had mobile barbers now.
Believe me, I gave him a business card too.
Ed and I do not know anything about mobile barbers. I can tell you that.
Is there such thing as a barber?
and that is a great point right there, right? Is that we're really good at comparing ourselves to ourselves, right? And I hear often people talking about the best practices, right? Well, the best practices are the best of the best within our industry, not necessarily the best in other industries, right? Where the DoorDashes of the world, the Walmart has grocery stores. I can get groceries delivered. Like I don't need to leave my house for much if I don't want to. And we need to get car service to be the same thing. I can tell you there's nobody doing mobile service around my area. As much as the dealer that I used to work at, not that far away, every month they send me a postcard that talks about mobile service and they don't have mobile service. So there's another gap there. That's a different show. But the fact that we only compare ourselves to ourselves is something that hinders us. And we really need to get outside of that thinking so that we can start to expand and start to understand how mobile service can fit into the dealership, right? Because I see a lot of people that they put the post up about the mobile service van that's parked 3 cars deep because it didn't go out today for some reason, right? Because it's not treated like Bozard treated it, as a separate business that needs to be nurtured, needs to be grown. It's not, you're not just going to plug it in and all of a sudden we've got mobile service with 47 vans that are running, right? There's a process that has to go into this.
Yeah, I talked about this. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there, but I talked about this last week. We went to go see a really large dealer partner of ours, and the van wasn't there, or the vehicle wasn't there. And that was the greatest validation that we had, was that the vehicle wasn't there. We knew where he was at because we saw it on our software, but that's the whole point, is we didn't want the vehicle to be there. We wanted it to be where it's supposed to be, which is in someone's driveway.
So I'm going to back us up 20 years, because if we're going to talk about the future, we got to talk about the past as well. And 20 years ago, right now, we did not have any type of iPhone, Android phones, whatever else. The iPhone came out at the Super Bowl of 2007. Well, we're 2026 right now. And you fast forward 20 years, and going back to that time frame, let me stay there for a moment. Going back to that time frame, if you needed something for the house or for whatever else, you was going to some type of departmental store, whether it was Walmart, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. And we fast forward 20 years, and those are the exceptions now. We go there as an exception rather than the rule. The rule is you go to on your phone, that didn't exist then, and you order it. Well, today, the rule is you go to the service department and get your vehicle serviced at, whether it's at a car dealership or an independent or wherever, that's the rule. But that has to become the exception. And whether that takes 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it has to be the exception that you go to these places, because our time becomes more and more valuable over time. So 5 years from now, our times will be more valuable then than it is today. And we don't have the time to come do these things today. Ahmed did not have time to drop his car off because he couldn't get back for this. So he got to take more time to go back out there and drop his vehicle off, because they're not going to develop mobile service between the time we hang up with this and him needing to get his vehicle serviced. So the future is it's going to be the rule, and coming in for service is going to be the exception. As today, the rule is we take our vehicles to places and leave it and drop it off or wait for it and kill the day. And we have to flip flop that.
It is, because we just met with Bo Bozart, Ed and I, and he made a comment, because I'm getting old and I don't realize it until somebody young says something. And he says, people born past me only knows Amazon. And I'm like, crap, that just dawned on me. I was like, oh shoot, that's right. People grew up with Amazon, where we grew up with the Sears catalog.
Actually, even a more
4 to 6 weeks for it to get here.
even a more fundamental shift, right? Because I think one thing that fixed ops has always been really good at is, look at the term. The reason it's fixed is because you know your UIO. Right? You don't have to sell any cars to have any more business this month or next month. So I think fixed ops has always been much more data driven. Excuse me. It's been much more predictable. You can measure your business, you can forecast your business, because there's a fixed UIO in a PMA. And we're using this language, but for anybody that just joined the industry yesterday or thinks about joining it, there's all of these cars that the manufacturer says that you have a responsibility to service. And that's why they call the service and parts departments fixed operations. And within that is a change that's going to take place for the future, for the bench strength. Ed, when we were there speaking to you, you talked about how you use your mobile service as a bench strength to hire technicians. Because I think something you said a year ago when I was sitting next to you somewhere, I don't know if it was you or Jeremy who said this, but you don't have a technician hiring problem. You have a technician training problem because you don't show them a ladder. You don't show them progress. Well, if you take all of that and you think about how are we going to shape the customer of tomorrow and next week and 5-7 years from now, go ask somebody under the age of 16 about watching something on television. They don't understand that you can't watch whatever you want, when you want, and hit and skip forward.
Yep.
So when you're speaking to that cohort of possible customers, they're not going to understand when you tell them that you won't be able to come do 37% of the work on their driveway or in front of their business. they're not going to understand. And to the conversation back to the future, I think we're speaking to 16 different manufacturers in our CRM right now. They are at a stage of potential pilot now to we're just curious about this and we don't necessarily understand it. And what do we think we need to be doing? And we're literally going out to them with slides that say, do you have mobile opcodes? No. Have you changed the way that your surveys are sent out? Because you might ask somebody what the coffee and the couches were like, and they're going to respond to you with, I was in my PJs. I don't know what you're talking about.
My coffee was good.
The coffee was great because I made it myself. There's so many fundamental things that OEMs need to do, but OEMs are cruise ships in the lake. Us and you as the dealers, we're the speedboats, and we have to show the way of how this takes place so that the manufacturers get on the same page when they're merchandising this, when they're offering this as a tool. And then at the end of the day, it comes back to the sales organization to use it as a value proposition to buy a car from me. I mean, I don't got to tell you guys, I mean, you're a town of 15,000 people and you're one of the largest Ford dealerships in Florida. It doesn't happen by chance, right? Your mobile service vehicles are selling you cars.
Absolutely. One of the largest in the country, and there's no reason for that. Every Ford dealer around us should outrun us. But we don't look through, they're not looking through the lenses that we need to look through. And if we look through those lenses, then it becomes clear what mobile needs to be tomorrow. And that is servicing customers on their terms rather than ours. It isn't about us anymore. It's about them.